I fully adapted and accepted that as the superior way. What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul. I make videos about Japanese society, life and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. I've been in Japan for 20 years, and that 20 years is the subject of today's topic. In 20 years, how American am I, having been in Japan for so long, and how Japanese have I become over this time? Now, this is actually a pretty huge topic. There's a lot of different factors I could talk about, but I'll try to keep it short, and I'm gonna divide it into two specific layers. The first layer is kind of mundane, everyday things like actions, habits, things that I do that are either more American or more Japanese. And then the second layer is talking about how my mindset has changed, or how my personal philosophy, or basically how I think, how has that changed to be more Japanese, or what do I still hold on to that's very American. So maybe I'll wait for the ambulance to pass just a moment. Okay, I will start with the mundane layer first, and probably the easiest way to do that is just to go through my day, my daily routine. So the first thing is, when I wake up in the morning, I do not take a shower. I do not do the American thing of having a shower in the morning. I have fully converted to the shower and bath at night, and it's actually one of those things that I dislike when I visit other countries, that they don't have that shower bath unit, that whole system, because I really love it. I love having the shower separate from the bath, and I do enjoy taking a bath now. It's become a normal part of my life, and I still don't understand why American construction insists on having the nozzle affixed to the wall. Like, it's so much better having it on the hose where you can move it around and you can hang it up there if you want to, but you don't have to. So yeah, whenever I go back to the States, I always am irritated by the shower and bath situation. There is one thing about that I am still American though, and that is I insisted when we built our house that our shower and bath would be on the second floor. And it's very typical in Japanese homes for the shower and bath unit to be on the first floor. So we had to be sure to find a builder that was going to be willing to do that, because sometimes they just aren't willing to build the unit on the second floor, because it does take more work to make that happen. So I just always looked at it as a lack of privacy. Like, when I use the bath at my in-laws' house, it's basically right next to the living room and kitchen. And so if like the aunts and uncles and other family guests are over, and back in the day when I was doing the Japanese style papa duty of doing bath time with my kid, I mean, we're having a bath at like 8 p.m. and there's a party going on next door, and it felt weird to me. To me, the shower bath should be upstairs with the bedrooms in the more private portion of the house. And so I insisted on that when we built our place. Breakfast, I cannot say it's either Japanese or American. I'm not having cereal, I'm not having like eggs, bacon, pancakes, and nor am I having miso soup and fish and rice. Like, I'm not having either the typical American or Japanese breakfast. But I do drink coffee in the morning. I'm not having tea. Or I should say, on the occasions I have tea, it's something like English breakfast tea or Assam tea or something like that. I commute to work some days by public transportation, which is very Japanese for the most part. Americans are pretty much a car country only, but I do commute by car on some days, and let's be honest, plenty of Japanese commute by car, so I can't really call that an American thing. But I think we probably can say commuting by bus and train as being a much more Japanese thing. So I guess I'm Japanese in my commute in that sense. Now at work, again, I don't really fall into either category because I teach at a university, which means I'm not part of the kind of Japanese company culture that you think of. Like, I'm not going out drinking with coworkers or, drinking with clients or anything like that. Basically, it's not like American or Japanese company culture or job structure, because you have a lot more flexibility in the university. Like, you still have plenty of work to do, but you can much more easily make your own schedule. Lunch is usually a giant pot of something that I made on Sunday, and I make it last through the whole week with changing the kind of side dishes every day, and I can't say that that is either consistently Japanese or American. However, when it comes to cooking dinner, my wife usually cooks during the week, and that will be a variety of Japanese food and American food and other countries' food. When I cook on the weekends, probably the most American thing that I like to make often is Mexican food. Mexican food is definitely, as an American guy, the thing I miss most in Japan when it comes to food, because pretty much everything else you can make or maybe American barbecue is hard to do in Japan, but Mexican food is what I really miss. So of course I'm not exactly making super authentic Mexican food, but I try my best to have a few good recipes, and I miss it. That's very American of me to miss Mexican food. And by the way, feel free to play along with this. If you live in Japan and you can assess how you've become Japanese or how you remained American or Canadian or French or wherever you come from, that would be interesting for me to know and for other commentators to read as well. So join in the comments below and let us know how you have changed or not changed. And if you don't live in a foreign country, maybe comment about how you feel you would adapt to Japan from what you know, or what you think you could never give up of your own culture if you moved abroad somewhere. So please join in. I love reading the comments, and I eventually get around to responding to probably 99% of them. Also, please remember to hit the like button if you enjoy this video, and subscribe if you want to get more content like this. That's literally the best way to help this channel grow. And share this video or any of my videos with other people who you think might enjoy that particular topic. Also, in terms of what I do for fun, I read books, I watch YouTube, I go running, I lift weights in the gym. None of these things are particularly American or Japanese. In terms of lifestyle, you've probably seen from past videos of mine, if you've watched any that I've done inside my house, I do have one Japanese style room in the house. And that's where I choose to film, because it presents a Japanese style backdrop. But that's the only room in my house that looks like that. The rest of the house is pretty much, our living room is a sofa and a TV, and it's we don't have kotatsu, for example, which is the heated table that people sit around in the wintertime. We don't have that in our house. So that Japanese room where I film from time to time is the only one. However, Japanese appliances, other Japanese things I've had to adjust to, just because houses are different and built different in Japan. But that's more like I had to adjust rather than I chose to become more Japanese. It's just that's just a thing. And I also learned how to cook Japanese food because there was a time a couple years ago when my wife fractured her finger and she couldn't cook anything. She had this big cast on her finger. And she walked me through how to make proper miso soup and kimpura and, a myriad of different Japanese side dishes to match grilled fish and whatever. So I have a background in cooking Japanese and can cook when needed to. The truth is, though, I eat everything. There's very little food that I do not like. So for me, variety is better. One way that I'm not very Japanese is that I love really, really spicy food, and usually really spicy food doesn't fly in Japan. The only spice being black pepper and wasabi, which is not the same thing. I think that's all I have for the mundane stuff. So let's actually get now into how I have changed as a person, my outlook, my personal philosophy, etc. And the most obvious one is I've become far more subconsciously fitting into society in the way of reading the air, seeing how people act and interact, and trying my best to fit in terms of keeping social norms, not causing trouble for others, being very conscientious of how other people are feeling in certain situations, trying my best to have the knowledge of what the proper way to do something is in society in terms of interpersonal relationships, etc. And so I have this awareness, and I think maybe some of it was conscious in the beginning, but now it's pretty much unconscious. So when I actually come to notice this is when I travel to a foreign country, or I go back to the US. So for example, when I go back to the US, it's within just an hour or so, that kind of falls away, because it's like, oh yeah, that's right, no one really cares. People can act out in a more individual manner and with less care of what others around them think, and therefore I don't have to worry about it while I'm here. And I kind of drop that awareness and practice of being careful of how I'm acting. But on the flip side of that is, of course, I am aware that I don't fit in no matter what I do. I'm always going to stand out. And so in some sense, I embrace that as well. I'm still very American in that I hold on to things kind of fiercely that will make me stand out as an individual beyond just the face that is obviously not Japanese. So for example, being a sneakerhead lets me wear audacious sneakers that most people don't wear in Japan. The suit that I'm often wearing when I film these videos, the truth is, I don't actually have to wear a suit for work. That's not the dress code of my university. I choose to do that. I like wearing a suit. And so I'm actually dressing differently from the other professors who are, wearing a button down and jeans kind of thing. And I put flares to my suit, or I do color combinations that aren't normal. Like the salaryman suit uniform in Japan is dark blue, gray, dark gray, and that's about it. But I have like a light blue Italian style suit that I like to wear, and I always have like a pocket handkerchief in the lapel pocket here, which is not the norm either. It's just an extra flair of style that I've made my own. And so like, I'm gonna stand out anyways, so why should I care about a few extra things that'll make me stand out? And anyone who knows me from back in my college days or high school knows that I'm a pretty outgoing person and someone who has a bit of a troll and a comedian and a prankster in me, so that it's kind of expected that I'm not going to as easily fit in. But in terms of my actions, like how I act in Japan, yeah, I've become a much more cautious, careful, dare I say, introverted person as a result of living here. So that's definitely the biggest change. The second biggest change was less out of necessity, but actually out of preference. And that is, I really have come to appreciate the orderliness of society that comes through the lack of flexibility that people often talk about when they complain about Japan. Like, oh, the customer service is inflexible, I can't do a special order, I can't, the staff was unwilling to do this thing for me because it's not part of their training or part of the manual. And honestly, I am guilty of having complained of that in the past. Sorry, I know I've got the sun behind me at the moment. I'm trying to move into some shade here. I know I'm guilty of complaining about that in the past, but that's actually something I've come to appreciate and changed my thinking about. The fact that I can go into social interactions, I can go into customer service interactions, there's always a script. Like, you don't have anything unexpected to worry about. It makes life in Japan orderly, run smoothly, and it's like, I feel I end up with less to complain about as a result, because I go in with certain expectations. Those expectations are met. I've learned to not have any, I know where the boundaries are of what expectations are not reasonable. And I really have come to appreciate this lack of flexibility, because it gets rid of the, uncertainty in life. It gets rid of the uncertainty in interactions, socially, business, everything. It's something that I think is actually a really good thing. And so I've definitely flipped my thinking about that. One way that I'm still American, though, is that I pay attention to other people. If you are a city-dwelling Japanese, at least, you are from the Yokohama, greater Tokyo area, etc., most Japanese ride the train, public transportation, walk on the streets, kind of studiously avoiding looking at other people. You don't make eye contact. You don't, make full face to face like eye contact with others. You kind of put blinders on. It's why smartphones and being asleep on the train, etc. It's like you're avoiding that constant human connection because population density. There's people everywhere all the time. And I've had conversations with students, and I remember one conversation with a student in particular where she was saying, why would you want to look at other people? Like, that's so weird. You keep meeting people's gazes and keep looking at their faces. That's kind of weird. And I thought about it and I was like, well, I guess it kind of is in the Japanese context, but I can't be Japanese for two reasons. The first is I'm too American in terms of safety awareness. Like, you just kind of watch other people in America because you want to know if anyone is potentially a danger to you. Like, I've never been in real particular danger in America, but when I'm in a bigger city, like I'm in Minneapolis, I'm in Chicago, I'm in New York, I'm paying attention to people because it's just a safer thing to do. And in Japan, you can get away with ignoring everyone around you because it's such a safe country in that sense. So that's one reason why I still look at people. But the other one, probably the main reason I still actually pay attention to other people, is because they pay attention to me. Again, I don't fit in. So like, people, even with the blinders on, I get past that barrier they've put up, and so they'll still like look at me and do a double take and that kind of thing. I actually had a full-on double take from an older gentleman yesterday. He did the full like look at me like back. Haven't gotten the full double take in a while, and it was pretty comical to see. But yeah, I get past people's filters, and so it's not unusual then for me to look back at them because I'm still used to people looking at me because I stand out. So there's not really, there's no real impetus for me to not look at others because I'm being looked at in return. The final one I'm going to talk about, so this video doesn't get too long, is I've definitely become Japanese in terms of thinking about cleanliness in the house and taking shoes off. I'm a full convert. If I ever moved back to the States and had a house there, I would absolutely make a rule that shoes come off when you enter my home because it's just gross. I'm sorry. I'm fully converted to that. And when I see like Instagram videos or YouTube videos or even like TV dramas or something, like, for example, I'm a sneakerhead, so I do watch sneaker content, and I'll watch like a sneaker YouTuber like sit down on their bed and like put their feet up. They sit and lie down back on the bed and they put their feet up and their sneakers are on their bed. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's so gross. Why would you put your shoes on your bed? It makes me not want to stay in American hotels, to be perfectly honest. Like, how many people's dirty effing shoes have been on those bed covers? Yuck. So yeah, I've definitely gone full Japanese cleanliness in that regard. And historically, you gotta respect that was a sensible thing, because the Japanese room I have in my house, back in the day, Japanese rooms, like, you slept on a futon on the floor, you sat on zabuton cushions on the floor, like, you lived a floor life, and so you're a lot closer to where dirty shoes would be touching. So it makes perfect sense that it's a culture of taking shoes off, and I fully adapted and accepted that as the superior way. All right, again, let us know in the comments how being in a foreign country has changed you, if at all, and I appreciate it if you would drop that like, subscribe if you haven't already. You watched this far in the video and you haven't subscribed. What are you doing? Come on. Share the video with anyone you think would be interested. If you want me to make a part 2 and talk about a few of the other ways I've changed or not in Japan, let me know in the comments as well. But as always, thank you so much for watching. You can still get $5 off an order from Sakurako. Get a Japanese snack box sent to your door with 20 different curated items from a different prefecture every month. It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed getting those boxes, and my deal is still valid, so please look for that. I do have a Patreon if you want to support me directly. That will be linked below as well. I will be posting a Japanese language learning video over there soon. I know I've been promising that for a couple weeks now, but I finally have a time slot in which I can film that. So I will be doing that, and that video will come out on Patreon first, probably maybe 1 or 2 months before it comes out on YouTube. So if you want first access, join my Patreon. Anyway, thanks for watching this particular video, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.